Okay, that's good. Right? Alright.
All right, today we're diving into something that is a genuine mathematical breakthrough. We're talking about a new theorem that promises to find perfect, exact answers to problems that, for centuries, we've basically been told were impossible to solve perfectly. This is big stuff. So let me ask you this. What if almost just isn't good enough? I mean, think about it. For so many of our biggest challenges, cracking the codes that protect our data or modeling the fundamental forces of the entire universe, getting an answer that's just close enough can be a huge liability, a disaster even. Sometimes you absolutely need the exact answer. And for mathematicians, one of the biggest challenges has always been solving what are basically mathematical Mount Everests, high-degree polynomials. And look, these are not your high school algebra problems. Nope. These things are colossal equations, and for centuries they've been this giant insurmountable wall. Okay, just look at this thing. This is an 18th degree polynomial. It's an absolute monster, right? You can't just solve for x with some simple formula you learned in school. No way. So, for centuries, how in the world did we even begin to deal with something like this? Well, for the longest time, the problem with our approach was that it was never perfect. Our best shot was basically a highly educated guess. We had to rely on what are called approximation methods. You see, for centuries, our best tools for problems like this were all based on approximation. Methods like, say, Newton's method are brilliant, don't get me wrong, but they work by starting with a guess and then getting closer and closer and closer to the real answer with each step. But here's the catch, right? You never quite get there. You're always dealing with an approximation. And that means you're open to these tiny little rounding errors that can pile up and turn into really big problems. So let's break it down. On one side, you've got the old way, the numerical methods. It's kind of like throwing darts at a board in the dark. You get closer with each throw, maybe, but you can't guarantee a bullseye. But on the other side, we have something totally new. A method that doesn't guess. It's not throwing darts. It calculates the exact perfect answer directly. So what is this revolutionary new key? What's this new method that promises to do what we all thought was impossible? Well, it's called Izuyde's theorem. And it's not a dart, it's a key specifically designed to unlock the hidden structure inside these impossibly complex equations. Okay, so here's the absolute heart of it. Izuyde's theorem is not about guessing at all. It's a systematic process. It actually uses the equation's own structure against itself, transforming it into something way simpler. And in doing that, it reveals the exact answers that were hidden inside all along. And let me tell you, this is a huge deal. Why? Because it completely flies in the face of what mathematicians have believed was possible for almost 200 years. You see, for nearly 200 years, a cornerstone of algebra has been something called Abel's impossibility theorem. And it basically said that any general polynomial of degree 5 or higher just couldn't be solved with a nice, clean formula using radicals. It was considered a done deal, unsolvable. But this new theorem, it challenges that fundamental assumption. It gives us a structured path to a precise, exact solution, right where we thought none could ever exist. So how on earth does it actually work? Okay, the best way to think about it is like a decoder key. So first you take that big, messy, complex polynomial and you feed it in. The theorem then applies this special recursive process. Recursive just means the formula takes its own result and feeds it right back into itself over and over again. And with each loop, it refines the equation. And here is the magic. The whole process is designed so that as it runs, more and more of the new pieces of the equation, the coefficients, they just calculate out to zero. Poof, they just vanish, canceling out huge chunks of complexity. And what you're left with is the simple, elegant core of the problem that was buried inside. All right, so that's the theory. Sounds pretty cool, right? But what actually happens when we unleash this decoder key on that absolute monster equation we saw at the beginning? Here it is again. Take a good look. All those terms, all that complexity. Now, watch this. So the theorem's recursive steps kick in. It starts calculating this whole new set of symbolic coefficients. And then, something just incredible happens. Coefficient after coefficient. S0R, S1R, S2R, you name it. They all just evaluate to zero. They literally vanish. And just like that, our terrifying 18th degree polynomial, the one with almost 20 terms, is reduced to this. An equation with just 3 little terms. That's it. All of that insane complexity was just a mask, hiding a much, much simpler structure underneath. And this is something we can actually solve. Incredible. And that is the real payoff. This is what it's all about. It's not just a numerical approximation. It's not getting close. This provides the precise, solvable roots for polynomials that pretty much everyone would have deemed completely unsolvable. Okay, so this is obviously huge for mathematicians, but why should the rest of us care? Why does this matter outside of a university classroom? What's the big deal about getting a perfect answer instead of just a good enough one? Well, it matters because perfect precision is basically the bedrock of our entire modern world. We're talking about creating cryptographic systems that are genuinely unbreakable, building physics models of the universe that are far more accurate, engineering next-generation technology that's safer and way more efficient, even modeling our financial systems. In these fields, an approximation isn't just good enough, it's a liability. Precision is power. And that just leaves us with a really fascinating thought, doesn't it? This theorem gives us a brand new key for one of math's oldest locked doors. It really makes you wonder, what other impossible problems out there aren't really impossible at all? Maybe they're just waiting for the right person to come along